do we want to talk about the Supreme Court leak around Roe v. Wade overturn?
I mean, it ties in, I feel like, with everything we've ever talked about in the podcast, in that this has been coming for many, many years, and the DNC, the alleged progressives, all of these people chose to. I mean, I remember being a teenager and hearing people raising the religious right as a problem, and people, at the top of the DNC, the talking heads saying they're not a concern, not taking it seriously. And those of us that were growing up in it knew they were terrorists. Mm-hmm. And so I really can't with the shock. I can't with, the Democrats not just throwing themselves on the floor when Kavanaugh and Amy were being put up for the Supreme Court, the same way the Republicans did when Obama tried to get his candidate in. Mm-hmm. And so don't be mad at the Republicans, be mad at the Democrats, because they did it. And they facilitated this and continued to, and then they gave us frickin' Biden mm-hmm. as president. Mm-hmm. So I don't have a lot for the people that are shocked. I don't have a lot for the people that are, suddenly aware of this. This has been coming. This has been the fight since
ever.
Yeah. But I mean, particularly any of us that grew up watching Christian television in the 80s, this was central.
Like, there's a reason they haven't stopped talking about it ever. There's a reason why it is the thing that they use, weaponized.
They've raised millions and millions of dollars for this cause mm-hmm. and put people in office to further their agenda. And so, I mean, it's terrible. Don't get me wrong. It is awful. But everything about this could have been stopped. Just like everything about Trump could have been stopped. And so, they are determined to facilitate the Republicans turning this into a further fascist country than it already is.
Well, and I guess it really does just go to show that all of the things that we continue to take for granted around progressivism and, the tides of change, just constantly are just, on our side, and opinions and hearts and settled law. It's already been settled. And we're just learning that literally everything can be undone if you don't stay on top of it.
Well, and it really blows up Hillary Clinton's concept of, I don't believe you change hearts, you change laws. Well, that's...
Yeah, I mean...
Thanks, Hill.
Yeah.
Why can't we change laws and hearts? Like, why can't we work on both things? This idea that it's one or the other is what's gotten us here.
Well, and the other thing that, gets left out of the conversation is the majority of people do believe in, at the very least, choice. Even if they aren't pro-abortion, they are pro-choice. We are looking at, in the same way that gay marriage or marriage equality is also the majority of people, popular vote, majority of people, we are looking at a minority. Mm-hmm. They are running the show, and it's bizarre that this is how this country functions because of things like the Electoral College, because of things like the Supreme Court.
Well, it doesn't help that we have a states' rightser as president.
Right.
And so, when I've never wanted him as our president or our mm-hmm. candidate. Mm-hmm. We voted for him out of necessity because mm-hmm. there was no other option. Yep. But I have never wanted him because he is essentially a Republican. And we have this man who basically abandoned all of the southern states at the height of the pandemic. Mm-hmm. He abandoned us. Mm-hmm. And now he's speaking the same language about the Supreme Court decision. Mm-hmm. And so we're pretty screwed. Yeah. At this juncture, there's not a lot of hope if this is indeed the ruling. Mm-hmm. No hiding place down here.
Well, on that chipper note,
welcome
to the show.
Oh, renegade through and through. Oh, renegade through and through. Oh, Lord, if you only knew. Now tell me, what do I do? And if what I say is true, how could I get through to you? I don't know how to behave.
Welcome to Outlaws Evidence of the Unseen, exceptional stories and conversations that weave history, religion, arts, and politics into the fabric of our greater cultural narrative. I am Ray Curenton, singer, songwriter, and producer.
I'm Tim Dillinger, essayist, music historian, and journalist.
If you like the show, be sure to subscribe and tell everyone you know to tune in as well. And if you feel so inclined, please rate and review the show wherever you listen. This helps more people find us. A couple of housekeeping items. I have a new single out that just came out last month entitled Make It With Me. We've talked about it on the show before, but the song is now available on streaming platforms and digital outlets everywhere. So be sure to stream, support the song. I've just been completely overwhelmed by the number of people that are finding the song and loving the song and sharing the song. But yeah, if you feel so inclined, in addition to streaming it, to maybe support the song on my Bandcamp that directly supports me and the work that we're doing with the show. It allows me to put more songs out sooner. It also allows us to continue to enhance what we're doing here with the show. We've got some new mic booms and things in here that are kind of fun to be working with as we continue to do the show each month. It gets better and better and better. So on my
better.
It just keeps getting better. That's Oprah. So if you go to raycurrenton.bandcamp.com, you can download the song there and tip if you'd like.
An incredible book came out this past week called Isn't Her Grace Amazing by Cheryl Willis. I was interviewed about some of the gospel artists that she covers in the book, and I'd love it if people supported this beautiful, beautiful work. She compiled some important histories and coupled them with beautiful photographs, many of which I've never seen before, and I look for these things pretty heavily. So Cheryl Willis, Isn't Her Grace Amazing? You should definitely pick it up if you love gospel music. Second, we got a review on the Andre Crouch episode, and they caught me in an untruth that I told.
Gasp.
So I did make an error. The reviewer is correct. Yes, it was Billy Thedford on Andre Crouch's Live at Carnegie Hall album, singing He Looked Beyond My Fault and Saw My Need. I wanted to acknowledge that because they're absolutely right. And we get on here and start talking, and names get blurred, and mistakes happen. So thank you for catching us. Catching me. And if you haven't, go back and listen to the if you haven't listened to the Andre Crouch episode, you definitely should. But listen to it with that in mind.
Listen to that with that in mind. And so let's get into today's topic.
Oh Lord.
Oh my goodness. We are going to talk about the rapture, which I feel like we've been talking about and preparing for the show. This was like one of the first topics I remember you saying you really wanted to address. Mm-hmm. And, we've gone through now, we've watched, because we really wanted to really tackle the notion of the rapture from a Christian multimedia propaganda perspective. Just the effort, the amount of investment, not just of time, but money and platform into talking about the rapture and using that as a scare tactic. It's really astounding when you think about the decades that have gone into this.
Yeah, I think we should talk about like our earliest memories of hearing about the rapture or knowing about the rapture. Do you know what yours was?
I mean, I remember it being a thing, and my experience was very different than yours, so it's probably best that I talk first, because we watched a lot of movies in preparation for this, but these were not films that I saw growing up. I knew of the Left Behind series, the books, and I guess the films too. I saw them in the Christian bookstore. It all felt extremely complicated to me, like the events post the rapture, just all of it just seemed, and I've read, would try to like flip through Revelations. I'm sure I've had pastors kind of do series, maybe, but it just, my eyes just always glazed over, and I just checked out because it's just boring and weird. It's like really bad sci-fi fan fiction. It's just like, I'll take the L. Ron Hubbard Scientology crazy over what's in Revelations. It's just convoluted. There's not really any narrative structure to it. we're, just strictly looking at it as, fantasy or prophecy or whatever. But no, like, I remember it being a thing, and I guess either my parents explicitly or kind of implicitly said to me, like, we're saved, we're good, we're gonna get if it happens in our lifetime, continue to dedicate your life to the Lord, and we don't have to worry about what comes after. And so I didn't ever really have a lot of stuff around what would happen if I were ever to be left behind. That just was never in my framework. So yeah, like I said, I didn't watch the movies. I didn't really engage with it really as a medium. I knew of like the Mark of the Beast stuff, but I didn't have like fear around barcodes or devices. I didn't have any of the, I knew 666 was like a bad number to stay away from. Like, I knew that, but yeah, it just I didn't feel consumed by the anticipation of Jesus coming back. I do remember a couple of failed prophecies that were in the news.
Oh yeah.
I don't think we were ever a part of a church that got swept up in that. I really remember like 2012 being like a big year, and like, is it going to happen then? And there was lots of prophecies around that, and kind of keeping an eye and just kind of looking to see like, is it gonna happen? No, that was a bunch of crap. But yeah, no, that was my childhood. What about yours?
I mean, really, as far back as I can really remember, I was conscious of the rapture because we saw in our day, because I'm old, we didn't have Left Behind. We had a series called A Thief in the Night. And so I saw A Thief in the Night. I think I was 4. And this also coincides
with the first time you saw the film.
Yeah.
You were 4 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's child abuse.
And it coincided with also seeing Raiders of the Lost Ark, which had a really traumatic snake scene in it for me.
Yes.
And so I saw those two things in in conjunction with each other. One thing I wanted to say, though, about the appeal of A Thief in the Night for church people was that in my generation, in certain, particularly Pentecostal circles, movies were forbidden. Like, you were not to go see movies. And so my mother we would sneak to go see movies. That was not something we did flagrantly. I mean, I remember us like heads down going into the movie theater in case someone saw us. I mean, we were
why are you there?
Right. But we were that kind of paranoid. And so when there is the event of a Christian movie, it automatically is kind of like contagion because you're allowed to watch a movie, and that's a big deal. And so,
how many Christian movies were there in the 70s?
Not a lot. Joni Erickson's life story, Corrie ten Boom's life story, both produced by Billy Graham, and the Jesus film. The Jesus of Nazareth film. This was, and they were all pretty much within a 5-year time period. So this was like Thief in the Night, 1972, it comes out. I saw it, at 4, so this is like 1979, 1980. And so I just wanted to say that, like, when we watch a film like A Thief in the Night and we note that it's like low budget and not well written, it didn't matter.
It was the first.
It's the first, and it's a captive audience. And so when I saw that movie, I had nightmares. Like, immediately.
Well, of course.
I was going to be, because the thing in that movie, and we'll get into this, but the one theme that really emerges is you can go to church and you can say you're saved and you still might not go. And so for me, I just went, well, of course I would be the exception and I would not go. And I also already knew at 4 or 5 that I was very different. And so I didn't have the gay word yet, but I knew that I was different, and I knew that kind of excluded me from the possibility of
being raptured.
And so I would wake up and I didn't, again, know this language. I was having night terrors.
Yeah.
I would wake up in the night. I would run through the house looking for my mother and my grandparents.
Like Patty in the movie.
Patty, to make sure that I had not been left. And I would scream. I would wake up. One night I rolled between my bed and the wall. And I was trapped.
Oh my God.
And nobody was coming, because they couldn't hear me because I was also covered up in blankets.
You were muffled, yeah.
Yeah. And so I was screaming and screaming and screaming, and nobody came. And I thought, oh my God, this is it. I've been raptured. I'm stuck, terrifying. And I was like 4 or 5, you know? So that's what rapture indoctrination early on was for me. And then would see this film, they would bring it to the church every year.
And then the sequels, right?
And the sequels. And the language was about scaring the kids to Jesus. This is the language.
They actually said
Yes.
scaring the kids to Jesus.
And then we started going to after that, because just to keep you reminded, we'd go when it ran at the Christian drive-in. Because we had a Christian drive-in in our area. So I was seeing this movie like regularly, and it just would reinforce for me. And the sequels, they do like a marathon. You'd watch them all in one night sometimes. And so it was, reinforced over and over and over again. And so when that happens, you don't question like, wait, is this real? Is this going to happen? It's a part of your reality. And they have the big altar call after. And I remember children like screaming and crying to the altar because they didn't want their heads chopped off.
Right.
And so that's my early...
Where are they today? Are they? Yeah.
Derelicts, I'm sure. But that's my early indoctrination with the rapture.
Gotcha. Well, yeah. So we watched... There were 4 A Thief in the Night films. Goodness gracious. We watched all 4 of those films. We also watched the original Left Behind film with Kirk Cameron, as well as the remake that they just put out in the last, I don't know, it was 5-10 years ago with Nicolas Cage. So we're going to talk about all of those films and the ways that each one is kind of an example of its time, I guess, and just the things that each film does. And I guess for me, I'm coming at it from someone who never saw any of his films and never really engaged with any of it prior to me kind of deconstructing and landing where I am currently with my faith. And you are approaching it, I guess, from someone with deep trauma around these films and this subject. Maybe reclaiming some power around it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Has it been cathartic for you? Has it been...
Well, I feel like it's really important to say about these films that through the years, I have met other people who were equally traumatized by these films.
Yeah.
B. Slade has kind of publicly talked about his relationship with these movies.
And incorporated it into his music. Yeah.
Yes. I met multiple. I remember having a conversation with one woman who was older than me. I would have been in my 30s at this juncture. And I said, somehow the Rapture movies came up. And I said, oh my God, we saw Thief in the Night when I was a kid. It completely freaked me out. And she went white in the face. I mean, it was like, and I said, oh my God, let's see if it's on YouTube. And she was like, no. Like, it was serious, like,
bless her heart,
pushed up stuff around the, it's terrifying to her.
Yeah.
That's, I realized when that happened, I thought, I'm not the only person that was as deeply terrified by these movies.
Yeah.
And again, she was older than me, so she would have seen them. I think she was 10 years older than me. So she would have been a teenager. If I was 5, she would have been 15.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think we also have to make sure, have we adequately explained what the rapture is for those who don't know?
Oh God! Oh, well, I feel like the films are going to tell us.
Okay,
it's about the films telling us what these things are.
Okay.
To scare us to Christ.
All right.
And get us to get on.
I just want to make sure we're not jumping ahead of our.
So yeah, no, we're going to talk about what it is through the films and see if there's anything. But I think what's important to remember are 2 things. One, all of these films are using the rapture as a scare tactic.
Totally.
That's theme number 1. I think the second theme is the end times, specifically what happens after the rapture is always kind of couched as a return of the supernatural. And I feel like we kind of talked about this in our faith healer conversation. There's this belief that, yeah, supernatural things are still happening and miracles, but like it's really going to get really interesting and special when the rapture happens.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so A Thief in the Night, first film. It's 1972. All of the Thief in the Night films were directed by Donald W. Thompson. Do you know anything about him?
Nothing. I think these are all people from Iowa. I could be
Yes.
mistaken.
The films were I think the first 3 films were like exclusively filmed in Iowa, and then like the last one, maybe the third one as well. There were some scenes shot elsewhere, like I think in New Mexico or Arizona or something like that. But yeah, mostly filmed in Iowa. I think all the actors are Iowans. Is that how you say?
Yeah, something like that.
So yeah, it's 1972. What's happening in 1972, Tim? It's the height of the Jesus
it's the
movement.
height of the Jesus movement. Yeah, and so I think that's really important because the narrative now is that the Jesus movement was just all happy and like one way, the finger pointing up.
The hippies that may still be smoking pot as they're
Right.
Yeah.
But the hierarchy, the church hierarchy, very quickly realized they had to, as we've talked about in our Jesus movement episode, take some control. And so they're very consciously infiltrating that scene with this kind of messaging.
Well, yeah, this is the same year as Explo 72.
Yep.
Yeah, Billy Graham and all of that. So, just for some context around filmmaking in 1972, the highest grossing film of the year was The Godfather, which was the Oscar winner for Best Picture that year. We all know The Godfather. It's currently the number 2 rated film of all time on IMDb. The user rating for The Godfather is an incredible 9.2. There aren't very many films with a user rating that high. A Thief in the Night has a rating on IMDb of 4.7.
Yeah. Generous.
The Godfather's film budget is estimated somewhere between $6 and $7.2 million. What I found online was that A Thief in the Night's budget was $68,000. And I don't know how accurate that is. That could be totally fabricated. If anybody has more information about how much money it took to make that film, let us know. So we're comparing really apples and oranges in terms of budget and influence and
Quality.
There were some other, because I feel like this film gets kind of categorized, especially the first 2 films get really lumped into that horror film genre. And some other horror films from that year, we've seen some of them. Others I've just kind of know of. Last House on the Left, Blackula.
Oh, Blackula.
Ben, which is so funny. Like Ben, it's so funny that both Ben and this film have that like creepy theme ballad.
Yes.
Where it's like a soft song that I feel like is supposed to kind of maybe make you, I don't know, it kind of has like these dreamy qualities, but then when you think about like the context of the film, or when you just like listen to the lyrics of the Larry Norman song, it's like, no, this is actually like a terrifying song. Why was that so common?
But their version in this film was way more terrifying than Larry Norman's version was. Larry's did have a very folkish quality to it. It was not eerie. I didn't find it eerie, even though the lyric is terrifying.
Yeah.
I mean, the production on Larry Norman's version was so beautiful.
Yeah, but that's how I feel about the Michael Jackson Ben song.
Yeah.
It's like, it doesn't feel creepy, but it's also like, why it's just the strangest thing to me to kind of pair. But I guess that is part of the eeriness of just setting the mood for.
Well, the weird, you've been left behind, and then that symbol.
Yes.
I mean, it does its job.
So we've got Patty Dunning playing Patty Myers.
That's right.
It's very interesting. Like early on in the film, we get the sense that the words unity or citizenship, anything related to people coming together around some kind of joint cause or just society, is something bad. It's weaponized like throughout the film and pretty early on.
As is, I mean, in the film, they give you, prior to the rapture happening, you get scenes of Patty in church. And she goes to, I'm assuming, like a Methodist or Episcopal church. And the minister is talking from an intellectual standpoint. And trouble. And so they immediately, with that, once they present him like talking about the idea of love, loving each other, and not taking the Bible so literally. And then, of course, then the rapture happens, and then he's left behind, and you get this whole piece of I wish I'd really been preaching the word of God.
Yes.
And so there's this whole like juxtaposition of intellectualism versus faith that we now, there was an all-out war on intellectualism in the 90s that really emerged. I think the beginnings of that started back here.
Yeah. So no unity, no just being kind to each other and helping each other out as citizens of the world or of a neighborhood or whatever. No intellectualism, all bad. And as we talked about the opening scene, the song, keep a sharp lookout, the first words that come up on the screen, just thinking about what a child watching would think or feel, just watching those opening scenes. And you were a child watching that. But there's a piece of me that just cannot fathom anyone thinking it would make any kind of sense to use these stories, these films in any way to try to get children to do anything. That just seems really, really sick. But I also know this is par for the course.
Well, it is, and nobody's untangling or talking about scaring people to Christ as actually not being about concern for their soul. It is about control.
Yes.
And so nobody's really analyzing that dynamic or what that means. And so they conflate love, faith, coming to Christ. They blur the definitions. And so love becomes, yes, Sam Phillips wrote, you say love when you mean control. And so there's this whole masking of language and action that they utilize these films to do.
These films all kind of have a they rely a lot on like flashback and like showing you a point in time, but then kind of showing how we got there, though it's not always clear that they're doing that with the film. I don't know if like they couldn't afford like better transitions at times or whatever, but you kind of have to hang in there to realize, oh, like we're seeing how we got here. And so this film is no exception. We open with the rapture having happened, and Patty's looking around. Her husband's gone. His clippers are plugged in and running in the sink, indicating that he's been caught up. There's a radio announcement that's playing.
Quoting scripture.
Yes. And the UN is going to be calling a special committee to figure out what's happened to all these millions of people that are vanished. Lots of UN hatred. And then we get I Wish We'd All Been Ready by Larry Norman, written by Larry Norman, but we're getting a creepy arrangement by some
random youth workers.
It's really eerie. There's scary drum beat. The electric piano's weird. Everything about it. They're making weird faces while they're singing.
The girls look brainwashed.
Okay, and so then we get into the plot. So we're getting like everything that happened before. Patty's got her friends Jenny and Diane. I think Jenny is the one who is getting saved or about to be saved, right?
Yes. Diane is set up as the one you already know you need to watch for.
Yes.
She's the most hippie-esque of the girls, and she just has a sinister,
possibly sexual.
Yes. Yeah.
Wayward.
Yes.
It's totally implied there.
Yes.
But we're getting these very clear character contrasts. So Patty's got this whole like, I'm a Christian because I do all these actions. I go to church, I read the Bible, I help people in need, and they're making it very clear like that's not enough. It's not going to be enough to save her, clearly, because you already saw in the beginning of the film she's been left behind. She's not a true Christian.
Well, and this is the piece of Patty I really like, because she's like, okay, yeah, I can get with love. I can get with Jesus is a great teacher, but a lot of this just seems really radical to me.
Right.
And I'm not really willing to do that.
And I love that just can't be okay. And we as people can't come together and, again, form community.
Yeah.
Be citizens of the world together.
Yes.
Like, no, that you're not a true Christian. They have to stamp that out immediately because it can't be controlled.
Right.
Jenny is the one who's, getting saved. She's been talking to this woman counselor who who spits some really fucked up shit about love. They're like talking, and Jenny's just like, trying to figure, the fairness pieces of like who gets to be, God's chosen people, who doesn't, and the rapture. And the counselor says, whoever said love is fair?
Yeah. So God's not fair.
God's not fair. No, favor ain't fair, Tim.
Right, that's right. Don't make sense. It makes faith. Yeah.
Then we're introduced to another friend of Jenny's, who I guess we ultimately, it's kind of later alluded that they become a couple. This Dwayne guy,
youth leader.
But they become a thing.
They become a thing.
Yeah. And they're talking about faith. Everything he says is just pure Christian paranoia. Talking about people giving you a hard time and Satan giving you a hard time, but you got to just, stand up and do what's right and not let any of those bad haters get in your way. So then we all get them in the park, and we're getting like everybody paired up. So Patty's got her boyfriend, Jim, who later becomes her husband. We've got Diane and her boyfriend, Jerry, who also has a very sinister...
Yes.
Were you afraid of Jerry?
Yes, totally.
Yeah, I could see that. It's funny because they're probably the two most attractive people in the whole film. So of course they like have to make Diane and Jerry the scary ones because they, and then of course Jenny and Dwayne, and the girls have a chat, and again, it's very salacious. Diane's talking to Patty, telling you, I'll have to tell you sometime about how to keep your boyfriend. Yes. And of course, Jenny's disgusted by this new holy saved Jenny. And Dwayne uses the opportunity of them all being at the park to warn them again about the rapture. And he says that God is currently holding back the full power of evil in the world. But after the rapture, all bets are going to be off. He tells them about the mark of the beast. There's a lot of expository, like all of these films just rely heavily on just dialogue that explains everything that's happening or going to happen. So he talks about the mark of the beast, and it's basically like a super evil credit card on your arm or your forehead that people are going to have to get. Again, he berates the intellectuals, the unbelievers that are going to be left behind, who we later learn, like Patty's Reverend Turner is one of these intellectual pastors who's not really a believer. Then we get like this weird, like, it's like this has nothing to do with anything, but then it kind of maybe does. Like they take Patty's boyfriend Jim on like an interesting little character search.
Well, it's his near death experience.
Yeah, it's his come to Jesus moment.
Yes.
Yeah, he has a come to Jesus moment. So
with a cobra.
Did he work with the cobra, or was he just like visiting or something?
No, it looked like he worked.
He was an employee. So he gets bitten by the snake, and they don't explain like why the cage was even open or how he didn't notice that the cage was open. Anyway, he needs a blood transfusion to fight off the poison. He survives in part because saved Jenny, prays for him, and he learns that she has prayed for him, and that becomes his entry into her church. And so he goes to Jenny's church. She's got a pastor, Pastor Balmer, who is preaching about the rapture and great tribulation. He's not just preaching about loving people and just reading your Bible. He's talking about the rapture. Then we see this little girl who was also a part of that sermon come home, and she's basically you, right? She comes home and is freaking out because she sees food on the stove that's cooking.
Nobody's there.
And nobody's there. It's unattended. And her mother doesn't immediately answer when she calls for her, so she starts screaming bloody murder.
She
thinks the rapture has happened on her way home from church.
Yes.
And the mother, of course, comes running in, and so she asks Jesus to come into her heart, and the little girl gets saved. So Patty eventually gets married to Jim. Jim's pastor visits them at home, and they have some more conversation around being a good person versus being a saved person, I guess.
Yep.
Jim asks why a loving God would put him through what he went through with the snake. To which Pastor Balmer says, God uses circumstances in our lives to bring us closer to him. And he compares the blood transfusion to his life being saved through Jesus's blood. So Jim really dedicates his life to Christ then. And of course, this all happens before the rapture happens. So who gets raptured? Jenny gets Jenny gets raptured. The little girl gets raptured. Is that when we see like the nice little moment?
Remember she went next door to get some butter?
Yes. And she was outside, right?
Yeah, and the butter's melted on the ground. Yeah.
And Jim's gone.
Yes.
Jim's gone. The clipper's in the bathroom sink. So yeah, then we start getting this whole Unite stuff. So the UN is holding this press conference on the United Television Network, which is also they're just beating us over the head with this United
Lots
stuff.
of United, yeah.
They announced the formation of an organization called Unite, the United Nations Imperium of Total Emergency. They tell people not to panic. The 10 major world powers at the time, did they say what those 10 were?
I don't remember.
They're going to form 6 committees of 6 members each, which 6, those are some 6s.
Scary.
And they're initiating this identification marking. They don't even call it a marking. They call it a sign or just a pass, I guess, that people are having to get. They of course are just, telling people, hey, we're not Big Brother. We don't wish to infringe on anyone's rights. We're just getting the mark so that everyone can be identified and we can know who is supporting Unite's strategy. It's benign. Just go ahead and get your ID. The mark, which you didn't notice. I was the one that pointed this out.
Well, math was never my thing.
It's a little like barcode type thing, and at the bottom it's 666 in binary code. Unite says that you can get the mark at their identification center and show yourself as a true citizen of the world. I'm not afraid to be a good citizen, is what one guy says as he's getting his.
It's loaded.
Right.
There's a lot to unpack there, given like January 6th and Patriots. And yes. Yeah. There's a lot there.
It's strange. It's strange. So eventually, of course, none of this is true about this identification being something benign. Eventually, we're starting to see citizens only signs that pop up in stores everywhere. Keeping people without the mark from shopping. People who don't get the mark start ultimately becoming enemies of the state. And then they basically start saying, if you haven't taken the mark, you're going to be arrested.
And they start coming for people. So Unite trucks arrive outside of Patty's home. And it kind of becomes like a chase film at this point, kind of, right? Yes.
It's like 4 different genres in one. So Patty flees home. She runs into her Reverend Turner, the intellect, who has been left behind. He regrets everything. He regrets not actually believing, even though he preached the word every Sunday. And it's interesting. We're going to see this trope a lot too. These pastors, these teachers that have I guess been doing this to pay the bills because being a preacher just paid so much, but didn't
they love this
believe it.
This ends up in Left Behind films as well.
Yeah, like we're seeing this repeatedly in all of these films. Like, why?
Well, and the need to consistently make Christians suspicious of other Christians, is really, really sick.
But yeah, so he's regretting everything. Now he's trying to do the right thing, but they both get arrested. And in prison, a prison guard is denying that the rapture even happened. She then tells Patty that Reverend Turner came to see that the mark was in everyone's best interest. So he has taken the mark, and I guess that kind of convinces Patty to be led outside to get the mark. I don't fully understand why she couldn't have gotten it there in prison. But anyway, she's led outside where she sees that Reverend Turner has actually been murdered out there. So she breaks free, runs away. A Unite truck chases after her. She calls her good friends, the only ones that are left here that haven't been raptured, good old Diane and Jerry, on a payphone. and they tell her to meet them at the dam.
So yes, the bridge. We now get to see. There's this epic bridge scene that happens in like all of the movies.
This is our first time we see it. So Patty's resourceful. She steals a Unite truck, and then a Unite helicopter pursues her. For some reason, she gets out of the truck when she sees the helicopter, and she starts running into the forest. And
well, it's also kind of interesting to think about the fact that this is like a fairly big town. We're not talking about like small town USA. We see lots of people, but yet they're so entirely focused on getting her.
Right. Well, because she broke out of prison. So I'm sure it's extra.
But even
and she stole the truck.
Even before that.
Yes. Yeah.
Go ahead.
And of course, I mean, if we were to really see it to scale, they would have needed to have lots of extras playing lots of Unite soldiers or whatever these guards are, and seeing lots of other people be scooped up.
Yes.
And so, I think the hyper focus on Patty is because they clearly just didn't have the budget to pay that many different extras or recruit that many different extras and get them all in uniforms and all of that. And clearly they didn't have the money or the forethought to maybe plan the action sequence of her navigating through the woods and ultimately getting to the dam. So it just looks really convoluted and strange. But she finishes her journey to the dam on foot. This is epic. This is the big epic climax of the film. Jerry and Diane pull up. She runs to their car, and as she gets closer, she sees that Jerry is holding a walkie-talkie and saying, "We've got her." And she realizes that she's been bamboozled.
He's not even human.
He's not even human. He's an agent for Unite, and they were trapping her from the very beginning. That those dastardly Diane and Jerry, and so. An ominous voiceover repeats menacingly, and these people will not be able to get away anywhere. There will be no place to hide. And it just repeats that over and over and over again. Patty jumps over the ledge of the dam, trying to escape. Jerry tries to grab her, and he's like smiling, this sinister smile. And does he push her, or does she fall?
You can't really tell.
You can't really tell what happens, but she falls backwards into the dam, where it's then revealed that all of this was a dream.
Yes.
All of it was a dream. Patty wakes up, and she actually thinks, when she wakes up, that means that the rapture also has been a dream.
Yes.
But then the radio is announcing that the rapture is happening, and Jim's clippers are running in the bathroom. And so it's like a double twist. All of the flashback sequences leading up to the opening scene were real, but everything after the opening was a dream. So the opening scene was ultimately like a fake out. It would be possibly a creative storytelling if it wasn't so convoluted and oddly shown. Now we're actually in the rapture, and now she's got this entire dream of what could have happened to her.
And it's real.
Yeah. So she screams and cries as the surviving girl always does in horror films. No. Yeah. And then we get some text. But of that day, know nothing when the time is, and the end is near.
Terrified. And then the churches would have the altar call.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's just such a convoluted film. Like keeping track of what really happened and what didn't really happen and where we were in the flashback versus the present. I mean, it was hard for me to keep up with what was going on. I know you've seen it so many times, so you kind of got clearer.
Well, re-seeing it as an adult, at 46 was really interesting because I realized when we watched this and the sequels that this film was really made to scare church kids. This film was not made to reach people not in the church because nothing about it, there's no gateway for anybody who didn't grow up in the church to connect with what this even was.
Any of this. I mean, I didn't even get clarity from the film really as to, other than just, I guess, confessing Christ as one's Lord and Savior, what salvation means, compare it to the things that Patty said about reading her Bible, going to church, claiming she's a Christian, the clarity around that was really lost to me. So yeah, I imagine, and I'm someone who grew up in the church, but just trying to look at the film from the vantage point of someone who didn't, I'm kind of lost as to what is supposed to happen. But clearly, yes, if after the film they're just telling you what's supposed to happen, come up to the altar, get saved, quote unquote, and then participate in the kind of church that is
really,
hammering this shit in every Sunday, and maybe in Bible study as well, and any other youth group or other extracurricular activities you need to immerse yourself in, then you'll be saved.
And the next two films in particular, they really delve more into the aftermath of the rapture and all of these convoluted time periods that you were talking about at the top of the show, the tribulation, the millennium. And they're even less accessible. They're even less accessible. There's so much more theology and the symbols that are used in the Bible. They didn't even attempt to shift those into 1978 language.
Right.
And so, but the whole generation of us were essentially conditioned by these films to be afraid. It took me, for as much as I didn't believe and would even some part of me clearly knew this wasn't real. By the time I was in my teens, I remember my godmother, she would always say, when I got to the fire baptized church, she would say, "Oh, baby, Jesus is soon to come." And I'd say, "He ain't coming." Because some part of me knew this was a farce, but I was also still afraid of it because it was so deeply ingrained. When I moved to Nashville in 2001, I had my friend from work, Midori, who had a very different experience as a black woman, grew up in a home with essentially atheist parents, unchurched, didn't have any of this. And so we were talking one day at lunch. She said, "What's this rapture?" And as I started to explain it, she belly laughed out loud as I explained the idea of the rapture. And it was only when she did that I suddenly felt the permission to also laugh.
Yeah.
And really let go of, it really was a rapture for me, because it was that instantaneous letting go of the fear of that, because she completely, that laughter made me realize, oh my God, you've been living in fear of this ridiculous occurrence that is not ever going to happen.
Yeah.
And I remember shortly after that, maybe 5 years after that, talking with another friend of mine who had been traumatized by these movies, but who still believed in the rapture. And he said to me, I shared that experience of telling Midori about the films and what the rapture was, and just the laughter, and realizing I didn't have to worry about that anymore. And he said, "You don't believe in the rapture anymore?" And I thought, I'm in my early 30s. No, I don't believe in the rapture anymore. No, this is not real. But that thing gets so encoiled around people's value systems.
Yeah.
They will go to their deaths believing this is real and living in fear of it, even if they don't do any of the other things these films say you have to do to go.
Yeah, yeah. And as we get into, in this very film, but we get a lot more of it in the sequels. I think a lot of the fear that was implanted in you, of course, being a 4-year-old and fearing your guardians, the people that are taking care of you, disappearing, and you just wondering what am I going to do for food or money? That's terrifying. But I feel like the added terrifying element of this, beyond just millions of people just vanishing in the twinkling of an eye, as they say, it's not that so much as it is the what happens after. It's this Unite organization, this scary organization, this one world order, new world order shit, and they're going to round up people and put them in camps if they don't believe a certain way or choose to take this demonic marking on their arm or their forehead that pledges allegiance to that versus God. And that whole element of being left behind and then having to navigate this political, militaristic environment is really terrifying. And it also really informs a lot of what we're looking at.
Absolutely.
With our current political climate.
I wonder often, like, what do these Christians, like the ones who participated in January 6th in particular, like, what do they think they're in the tribulation? Like, what part of this do they think they're in the middle of? I know that many of them actually believe, of course, that they are helping to make the rapture happen.
Well, that's a whole other thing of just lots of Christians believing they have to do things to bring it on and bring it on faster.
Yes.
And so I guess that then means making the world an incredibly shittier place perpetually.
So that it hurries
up. An
up.
oppressive place. Yeah, so that it hurries up Christ coming back and all of these people being raptured up, which I feel like until people who don't believe any of this get that, we're never going to get anywhere with how to deal with them. Because, I need people to get that there are people actively trying to, again, make this country, make this world something so unlivable that the rapture has to happen.
Yes.
In their minds, because they believe it will.
Well, I also you referenced something else in the very beginning of the conversation about how when you grew up, there were like prophecies about the rapture happening in particular years. And I too, in my generation, we had before.
I know there was a big one in the 80s.
1988. They believed, and there was a man named J.R. Church who wrote a book called Hidden Prophecies in the Psalms, and he said that if you read Psalms 88, that it was clear that it was indicating somehow 1988. Somehow Psalm 88 would automatically mean yes in 1988. Yes,
and not any of the other 88s.
Yeah, not any of the other
before.
88s that might have been. It was 1988. It's very clear. It's very clear. And so, I mean, I remember living that entire year just in complete terror that it was going to happen, and then of course it didn't. And these things all for me just splintered away at and then to 2001, for my friend to help free me from this. But that was a big one. 1988 was a big one.
Yeah. So this film was clearly successful. Very successful. Spawned
for them.
Spawned an industry,
Absolutely.
On some level. So we get a sequel. 6 years later. Distant Thunder comes out in 1978. Same director. Patty's in it again. A lot of the other people are in it. Jerry and Diane, Reverend Turner, they all come back. This film opens up with we are one in the spirit, we are one in the Lord. It's creepy. It's a creepy song.
Well, considering that we see, that song is They'll Know We Are Christians by Our Love. And
right.
Considering that we're not really witnessing a lot.
We get no love.
No love in this film.
It's so strange. Maybe that's why they made it eerie, because like those people are the zombies that get left behind, the ones that actually do try to love. I do love this quote, though. The motion picture you are about to experience is fiction. The prophecy is not. Oh my God, it's just so heavy-handed. It's so heavy-handed. This film is also a flashback type deal. So what we get with this one is it's opening with Patty being captured, and she's awaiting execution now. Execution by Unite. I love that she, in her prophecy or dream, knew that the organization would be called Unite and that all of that stuff would be happening. She's quite a little savant precog or something.
Absolutely.
Why she couldn't...
They're coming.
Yeah, why couldn't... Can you see? Can you see? We love Minority Report, so... Yeah, she's quite the little precog. She should have spun that into some kind of... money for her in the post-rapture days. But anyway, she's still not a believer, even though she's had the dream, even though she's gone through the things that she's clearly already knew was going to happen, and watched her husband and all the people that she loved be disappeared. We are introduced to Patty's neighbor, Wenda. Who's trying to console her. Wenda's got a sister named Sandy. And so they're trying to get her to accept the Lord before it's too late. Patty doesn't want to believe in a God, of course, that's caused such distraction and destruction and death to happen. And she feels like she's faced with a non-choice, which, either believe in God and accept Christ, but be executed, because, there is no being raptured at this point. It's already happened. Or take the mark and face the horrible consequences later that are going to happen.
Which is...
Yeah, Linda like alludes to this, right?
There will come a time when you'll want to die and you can't if you take the mark. So the mark is also like an eternal life giver, but it's not a good eternal life giver. It turns you
into a zombie. Yeah. Which they don't really explicitly state. And I was like unclear about that too. Because I was like, so you take this mark and then, you
never die.
This undead person in misery and suffering, I guess. So she's then starts to tell her story to this nosy man named Kent, who's all in her business. He wants to know everything about how she got there, but he's a Christian as well. And so we get a flashback to the end of the film, and the story kind of picks up where the rapture has happened. Her husband Jim is gone. She discovers that her friend Jenny is gone. We then learn that she like has a grandmother, or had a grandmother who we did not meet in the first film.
Did not.
But this grandmother also had a pastor who was preaching the right thing. And she gave her a tribulation map. I did not know, Tim, that this was even a thing.
Oh,
did you have tribulation maps growing up? Yeah.
Yes, we absolutely did. In the back of the church, we had a whole track board, and the tribulation map was on it. You could buy it at the Christian bookstores. Absolutely.
Oh, and the music Redemption, or the song Redemption Draweth Nigh plays. I actually do kind of like that one. So she's got this tribulation map. I guess that reminds her to try to visit her grandmother and see if she's there. Of course, Granny is raptured as well. And there's this like really stylized, like thriller shot of her grandmother's phone hanging off the hook. So I guess her grandmother was making a call at the time that she was raptured up. It's very just extra. And she like covers her mouth, right? She's just like gasped that her grandmother's gone. I'm like, of course she's gone. Everybody else you know is gone. Why is this such a thing? So anyway, we get this whole flashback, a lot of, again, exposition of her grandmother's pastor talking about the tribulation, the 7 seals of judgment.
Oh my God. These
opening
seals.
up the seals, which is, again, it's confusing. What the hell is a seal and why is it opening up? It's going to happen over the course of 3.5 years. Peace, war, famine, death, persecution, destruction, and silence, which I feel like famine, death, persecution, and destruction are all the same thing. Like they're all just death. So why does that have to be? It's like, why are they separate? Anyway,
to make it sound worse.
Also in this flashback, Patty's grandmother tells her about the Antichrist, and they read all about the mark of the beast, and basically it kind of like contradicts Patty's character arc in the first film to me, because I feel like in that one she didn't really seem interested in the end times prior to the rapture. It was all new to her. She hadn't learned of it, and so the fact that she seemed like obsessed enough with it, like she was talking to her grandmother, wanting to know all these things. Why doesn't she believe in it anyway? Back in the post-rapture days, Wenda and Sandy run into Diane and Jerry. And we learn, right, that Diane works for the food distribution. Like
yes, because the food is being rationed.
Yeah, the food is being rationed for some, I guess, because for some reason people can't grow it as well.
Supply chain issues.
There's supply chain issues because all these people have died of COVID. I mean, of the rapture. So they're having to be very, very, very strict with food, but Diane's got the hookup, so she's kind of keeping them all together. Patty tells them about her dream and how they took the mark, and Jerry pushed her over the dam in the first film, the dream from the first film, and that at least a portion of Patty's dream has already come true, right? Like Jim and all the other Christians have been raptured, but they reassure her that they've never hurt you, never. Wenda reads a letter from her boyfriend, Johnny. This is like such an interesting little like segue. We got this like boyfriend that Wenda has who's in the Air Force, and he wrote this letter to her clearly weeks before when she's gotten the letter. It's taken some time to get to her. He was planning to see them in a few months, but he writes that he has been going to meetings at the camp and has received Jesus Christ as his Lord and Savior.
Get ready for it. And what does she say? What does she say to
cries,
this?
"Oh no!" she's
good.
clear that he has now been raptured up, and she's never going to see her boyfriend again.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so good.
So then it flashes back to the present. It's such a it's so even just trying to read the story, I'm like, I can barely keep it straight. But Unite tells all the Christians that have been captured that if they don't receive their ID, they're gonna die. Their leader is
Here we go.
Brother Christopher, who is indeed the Antichrist. Wenda tells Patty not to take the mark, and here's where we get the big long speech about by taking up the mark, she gives up her soul, and the mark is only going to buy her a couple of months, and then there will come a time when she's going to want to die, and she's not going to be able to. Did that terrify you as a kid? That little speech?
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
I could see all the emotional pieces that would be really traumatizing.
Because you also have to remember, I also saw this one when I was 4 or 5. This came out in 1978. So I was seeing this right alongside A Thief in the Night.
You were getting them both together.
Yeah.
So
and this one really terrified me. So go ahead.
Yeah. So back to the flashback. Diane's, of course, sneaking them the food. Sandy, Wenda's sister, tells them all after the tribulation that Christ will come back to earth to reign for 1,000 years.
Which they're going to live through, I guess.
Yes. And just because you have an understanding of the Bible in your head doesn't mean you hold Jesus in your heart. Hold on to Sandy's little moment here, because we're going to get into Sandy later. We're reintroduced to Reverend Turner, who's now preaching heavily about the end times.
Because that part didn't come true in the dream. He didn't die.
Right. He died in the dream. But in this film, he lives, and he's preaching to the few that are willing to hear about the gospel and not the quote unquote godless humanism of the world church, which I guess is what he preached about before. Good God, Jesus Christ, which we're preaching about right here on this podcast. Stay tuned. Patty asks him why he, quote unquote, why he didn't tell us all about this before it was too late. I mean, clearly he never preached about the prophecies before, and he even criticized the evangelicals. And she says, I would have rather been scared into heaven than have to go through this. Which is also a contradiction, because
she still doesn't.
She still doesn't believe in it, even though he's preaching it now.
Yeah.
But he passes the blame and says that it was her responsibility to hold him to a higher standard. He said that she read from the same Bible he preached from, so her lack of belief isn't his fault. Which, sure. You don't have to be a dick about it, though, Reverend Turner. Patty and the neighbor girls fantasize about fruit they wish they could eat. I'm still not fully understanding why they can't just go out and grow some fruit.
But isn't the heat, there's also strange weather things happening.
So that's already beginning. They don't even make that clear. We don't see moments of them just
well, they keep showing you this
exhausted.
Burning sun.
They do.
And so I think that's what that's indicating.
Okay. I thought it was the sun coming back or something.
No. I think it's indicating
the S-O-N.
Yeah.
But we're seeing trees and foliage and shit all over the place. So if we're really in famine, why is I'm
just presenting.
And again, it could also just be a budget problem. They didn't probably have the ability to make it look less green. We see this missionary approach, and he's preaching the gospel. And they're just outside. He's just walking up to them. It's kind of an epic scene, right? Isn't there music playing as he's approaching?
Whoa!
Yes. Yeah. The music's getting louder.
Yeah.
And Wenda immediately kneels down in front of this missionary. Of course, he's a man. And accepts Christ. Right then and there. Then this old man asks them for some food. This happens way later. And the missionary guy's gone, right? When this happens.
Yeah.
His name is Jonathan Niles. She shares some food with him, and she uses the opportunity to evangelize because she's not going to waste any time. I've gotten saved. I'm going to save this possibly homeless man who's asking for food. Patty says that God is not fair. Wenda says it almost seems as if she's looking for a reason to turn against God, which... Look around.
Yeah.
Of course I'm looking for... Okay. Anyway, then there's this big storm and their barn catches on fire. We see all the horses.
You also have to remember, though, the horses are symbolic.
Right, because the seal is possibly opening up with the horses, right?
The black horse.
Yes.
The horses mean something. So that's... Remember, you see the horses running around. Go ahead.
That's from the scripture?
Yeah.
Okay. So it actually meant their horses.
Yeah.
Not like some horses coming out of the sky or something. Okay. So I guess they were using them to get around because they don't have gasoline because of the supply chain stuff. So anyway, they lose their horses. Tragedy strikes the world. Famine and death everywhere. Patty meets Jerry and Diane on the dam to pick up 6 boxes of food. Of course, when she does this, she has flashbacks from the first film about their betrayal. And so she kind of freaks out and she turns around, but they chase her and catch up to her and tell her again, like she has nothing to worry about. So she's being convinced to, kind of let that go. Unite has now closed off the church at this point. So Reverend Turner is preaching to a completely empty room, and they're like nailing.
It's boarded up.
Yeah, they're boarding up.
They board him inside.
They're boarding up the doors, but he's still inside preaching. So I guess that's how his story ends in this film. Patty lives through this terrible earthquake. She breaks into this house because an earthquake is happening, I guess for shelter. And then we watch the house just completely get destroyed. Like trees are breaking into the windows and the ceiling collapses. It's like this really weird, like paper mache house that gets like toppled.
It's very much like one of the blaxploitation films, like when they have the explosions. Yes. It's very much like that.
It looks very, very cheap. But anyway, she lives through it. Jonathan Niles, the man that had asked Wenda and Sandy for food, we learn that he's a traitor, and he sells Wenda and Sandy out to Unite. So they're arrested because they've had contact with this missionary that saved Wenda. They witness a woman try to get food while they're in custody and care for her baby. She's got a baby, but she's denied because she hasn't taken the mark. And then they say that people like her are going to be arrested if they still haven't been ID'd by the deadline of. It is why is this date specific? October 15th?
6. You add 1 and 5 together equals 6.
In October because it's just a satanic month because of
satanic.
Halloween, I guess.
And what's also odd is though they're already also arresting people. So
why couldn't they just say October 6th? Okay. Yes, they are already arresting people. And yeah. So again, like more of Patty's prophecy, I guess, coming true. The fact that people who haven't been ID'd get arrested. Wenda had given Jonathan her address, I guess, at some point. And so he then gives that to Unite. And of course, because Patty was her neighbor, they're after Patty too. So I don't know if that's just because Patty hasn't taken the mark yet, or if they think maybe she's had interaction with the missionary. She didn't talk to him. So yeah, I don't know. Anyway, Wenda calls her and tells her to run just as they're approaching the house. So we get another big chase scene where she steals one of the Unite guns.
She's good at this.
Yeah, she holds up a soldier. She's quite the little Ripley from Alien, or it's very Sigourney Weaver when she wants to be, or like Jamie Lee Curtis or something. I don't know. She calls Diane at a payphone again. Very flashback to the first film. She asks for a place to hide. They meet up
at a Unite office,
but they try to get her to take the mark. Back to the present. Wenda and Patty's time for execution is up. So they're led out to the guillotine in blindfolds. They're led out and they're blindfolded, and I don't understand why they take the blindfolds off, but they do. But it's revealed that Sandy is the one who sold out Wenda and Patty, which... What did Jonathan have to do with it then? Was he just the lie that I don't understand?
I didn't understand the whole Jonathan thing because we never saw him again, never heard
We don't
from
ever
him.
see him again. Yeah. So anyway, it's revealed that Sandy's a big traitor. And I guess she was making up that whole thing about you can say you are a Christian, but if you don't believe, blah, blah, blah. So she actually has the mark. She's been hiding it this whole time. And she reveals it and says anybody can say they're a Christian, like she said before. Her, Diane, and Jerry, it's revealed that they, again, are also traitors like they were in the first film. They try to convince both Wenda and Patty, again, to take the mark. So the film ends with Patty being forced to watch the blade come down on Wenda.
Oh, my God.
Who refuses to denounce Christ.
Christ needs to know that you're willing to die for him like he died for you.
Yeah. And I can't remember, like, do we just hear Wenda get executed?
No, in this one you just hear the blade come down.
You just hear it, yeah.
Yes.
And so then Patty's fate is left undetermined
at
the end of that film. Which leads us into the next one, Image of the Beast. So this one's all about the mid-years of the Great Tribulation. These films get super boring after this, so I'm gonna like fly through.
Well, and this is 1981, same director.
We don't get any intro music.
No, it's very different.
Or no intro song. We do get music, and of course, like because it's like now the 80s, they have to like use synthesizers and stuff. So we're getting like futuristic sound, some digital fonts. It's kind of they're trying to up it and make it a little bit more modern for the 80s. Before we find out what happens with Patty, though, at the guillotine, of course, we got to deal with another fucking flashback. So Patty's working at a grocery store. Which
we don't know when this ever happened.
When was she ever? Yeah,
and it also looks like the 80s. It doesn't look like the 70s anymore.
Yeah. I'm assuming this was pre-rapture, right? Was this pre her even being married to Jim?
We don't know about. We definitely know it was pre-rapture.
Yeah. Anyway, she's there. This Christian couple approaches. Oh, well, the man is a Christian. His pregnant wife isn't, which doesn't make any sense. Does that make sense to you?
They love making women not Christians in this
film.
They do. In these films, it's really fascinating.
Yeah.
How
the husbands
men are just much more liable, and it's these stubborn, obstinate wives who won't just surrender to the Lord.
Which, if you look at it today, it's actually the opposite. It's all the women that are in churches and all the men staying home.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to deal with that.
That faith confession didn't work out.
Didn't work out. Anyway, he holds out this book because he just happens to have this book in the grocery store while they're shopping. It's called Computer Prophecies, and he warns both his wife and Patty to take this tribulation seriously before it's too late.
Can I interrupt there? Because I feel like it's important for context to say, like, back when in my day as a child, it was you could get books in the grocery store. They had paperbacks like at the checkout counter.
So you think he was buying the book there? Or got the book at the grocery store?
Yeah, he pulled it off of a rack.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, because you could back then again books. We used to call them like paperbacks.
Yeah, I remember those cheap paperbacks. When I was growing up, it was like the romance novels.
Okay, no, you could get all kinds of books at the grocery store when I was growing up.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay.
So I just wanted to say that so people don't think like, why would they be getting a book at the grocery store? Because you don't do that anymore.
Well, of course, the grocery store has this Computer Prophecies book. We're going to get into like a lot of like computers are bad.
Yes.
Or satanic stuff too, like in this film and the next one.
Yep.
So back to
fear of technology. Yes.
Back to the guillotine. Wenda's dead. Patty's next. Sandy, the traitor, who's now murdered her sister basically by proxy, tries to get Patty to take that mark one last time. She says, "This world is real." Then an earthquake happens.
Oh my God.
Patty's put under the guillotine.
Well, they strap her down before the earthquake.
Well, I feel like there's like rumbling though, like as
but they're putting her down. They're putting her down noticing.
Anyway, yeah. She's face up. But she's strapped down, so she can't escape. I don't know why they need her to see the blade come down on her as she's dying. They have to be especially cruel, I guess.
Yeah.
Anyway, the earth starts shaking as she's in the guillotine, but it hasn't come down on her yet.
Because they didn't release it. They didn't release the blade.
Yeah. And it cracks. Like the ground like cracks in two. Right as Patty's put under there, everyone starts running away and in fear, and Patty screams, "I want the mark! Girl!" After 2 films, we're like in the middle of this third one, and you finally decide you want the mark. I'm so mad at her for this. I'm so mad. But it's too fucking late, Patty. It's too late. She is abandoned out there.
Abandoned.
Even Sandy's gone, the one who tried to get her to, do it in the first place. And the blade of the guillotine is hanging by a thread.
The screw, yeah.
She tries. This is the most horror.
Okay.
element of all the film. This moment right here.
This was the scene that did me in as a kid. This was the scene.
So 81, right? So you were, what, 6 years old when this film came out? I don't know if you saw it that year.
Yeah, I could have still been 5. Yeah, I definitely did because this was a big deal.
Yeah. She tries to free herself from being strapped down, but it only loosens the blade more and more. And eventually it comes down on her. She screams as she watches it fall. The screen cuts to black as we hear it come down and her head falls in the basket. And that's the end of Patty.
Yeah,
yes,
and you do get a sound effect with this one, and that was what.
Yeah, children should not have ever seen this. No child.
That's what you got.
Honestly, no one should have seen this because the film from here just becomes really stupid. But
yeah, it's amazing how I recalled nothing beyond this moment.
Yeah,
when we saw it, in my mind, it was the end of
the second movie. Yeah.
And so I clearly must have blacked out or something after this happened because I had no recall of the rest of this movie.
Yeah. Well, I guess the writers decided that we needed a new protagonist. Maybe too much about women. We got to get the men, So we get a completely new protagonist. We get this man named David Michaels, who's played by William Wellman Jr. We watch him attack a Unite guard, and he steals his uniform. He finds two women and a baby being held prisoner there. He discovers that one of them's a believer. He is as well, which is why he's infiltrated this facility. So we're not getting is he a believer? Is he going to take the mark? He's clearly a Christian. The Christian woman, her name is Leslie. She happened to be at the guillotine when Patty was awaiting execution. And she says, millions of people try to work their way to heaven, but of course Christ is the only way. And she explains why Christians don't even try to be good people anymore to me by saying that. If we aren't doing any works, if we aren't trying to make anything better, if it's really just about Christ being the only way, vaguely, to get to heaven, what does that mean? What are we doing?
Right.
So, anyway, David and Leslie hint that they're kind of having some kind of love connection.
It's very fast.
It's very, very fast, but you got to catch it. Anyway, the other woman, her name is Kathy. She's the wife of the man in the grocery store that we saw at the beginning. So she isn't a Christian still, but she used to be a computer analyst. So she hasn't taken the mark because she's held on to the computer prophecy book, which warns that the mark is selling one's soul to the devil. So even though she doesn't believe in the Christ, she believes in the devil.
Apparently.
Anyway, her son's name is Billy. That's probably not important. They all escape by Jeep, but not before General Goon of Unite shoots Leslie and she falls off the truck. David walks back for her, but he believes she's dead, so he leaves her behind. No proper burial or anything for her. He just leaves her out there. The next morning, Kathy's son Billy wanders off. What I'm trying to understand with these films is, shouldn't children be raptured? He's clearly younger. I don't know. I know some Christians believe in the age of accountability thing. Some don't.
I'm a little lost too, because doesn't the tribulation start 7 years after the rapture? So wouldn't her husband have already been raptured by the time before this child was even conceived?
You're right.
Yeah, I didn't understand the whole timeline.
So he should either be a lot older.
Yeah.
Or, yeah. But it also made me question everything. What about children that are born after the rapture? Is it just sucks for you?
Right.
You don't get raptured.
You have no opportunity.
And of course the question,
babies. Maybe they stop having babies.
Oh, they just can't. Everyone becomes infertile.
But I don't know how we carry on for another 1,000 years for Christ to come back. I don't know. I'm lost.
And what about the unborn? Let's say the rapture did happen while she was pregnant, which also could have been the possibility.
Right.
If since we talked about Roe versus Wade in the intro, are those children gonna be raptured at the unborn? Does salvation begin at conception? for the children?
These are some good questions
Yeah.
that no one's answered yet. Yeah.
I don't understand how any of this shit is pro-life. I'm just going to say that. Billy walks into a chicken coop and is discovered by a man who we later learn is Reverend Turner. He's back for the third film. We last saw him boarded up in his church alone. United put him there, but I guess now he's kind of living underground
off the grid.
Oh, yeah,
he's
rogue.
a crazed farmer.
Yes, he's a crazed farmer. David isn't sure if they can trust this guy, so they give him some fake names. And we never, I don't recall that that's ever, settled. Like, he gave them fake names, but then later it seems like they do trust him, but they never talked about, we gave you some fake names, our real names are blah. Anyway, he feeds them. They ask how he's had food. We learn that he, is growing it all. So my question then is, if he's, able to grow food himself, and I wondered this in the last episode, why they couldn't grow fruits and vegetables for themselves, are rural people going to be fine? Does it matter if they're
This
left
is what
behind
I've
or
been
not?
saying all of these years.
Yeah, if they can just grow their own food and make it happen for themselves out there, it's us urbanites that are screwed and suburbanites that are screwed, huh?
Yeah. Got to get back to the land.
We got to get back to the land. All of the survivalists have been onto something from the beginning. Anyway, he has a huge tribulation map.
Huge. No, it's not a pamphlet. It is a wall.
It's a wall.
He has a tribulation wall
on
map.
the side of his house or this home.
barn.
Yeah, and they have this very, very boring, lengthy discussion about the prophecies in Revelations. Meanwhile, Kathy, who was left for dead because we thought she was dead, is found and taken in by an old white couple. Well, everybody's white, so I don't know why I felt the need to distinguish that they're an old white couple. Anyway, they nurse her back to health. She's not dead.
I guess all the black people made it.
White supremacy, even in the tribulation times. David and Leslie privately discuss developing a counterfeit mark. This becomes really I don't fully understand how this could even work, but anyway, they decide they're going to mark themselves with a fake mark so that they can infiltrate what they call the devil's computer system. Yeah, I just don't understand how writing a fake 666 on yourself is somehow okay or better than taking the real mark. And I also don't fully understand the point of trying to unite or infiltrate the computers if the Revelations prophecy of all the famine and war and destruction and all of that is going to be fulfilled regardless. I don't get what they think they're... If we're fighting so hard to make the rapture happen, then why are we then fighting on the other side of it to keep the tribulation stuff from happening?
Yeah. Yeah.
To me, it's resisting God's will, maybe, right? Isn't that subversive?
I would think so.
So they infiltrate a world church service. They're having these world church services. Right. They're talking all about Brother Christopher and his leadership. It's not really church. They're just talking about policy and investments.
Scientology.
It's just a meeting where they're sitting around discussing the business strategy of Unite and Brother Christopher. This is not worship. Kathy realizes that she knows Diane and Jerry, who are there. Diane is shocked to see that Kathy has changed her mind about taking the mark. David is in a stolen uniform, so he lies and says that he serves in computers in Unite. I serve in computers.
Which gets Jerry interested.
Right, and he says his work is classified. It's important to note, in the first films, Jerry had sideburns, and they're gone now. And he had a mustache, but in this film, it's very curly.
Yeah.
It's a very curly mustache. He looks especially...
Looks like 80s gay cruiser.
Yeah. So they've updated him for the
Coming
80s.
soon to a bathroom near you.
Jerry is a part of, get ready for it, Bums.
Also porny.
BUMS, Believers Underground Movement Squad. It's, I guess, like COINTELPRO, but for the Christians. It's like a counterintelligence thing.
Yes.
Anyway, Kathy and David go into the city for batteries. While they're there, they hear on the radio that Brother Christopher has been healed 3 days after being shot by a lone assassin and believed to be dead. And now that he's alive, and he says, "I'm alive as I've always been." And Jerusalem like praises because he happens to be in Jerusalem. It's very like they're making it very clear that there's going to be this like fake resurrection that the Antichrist pulls off that mirrors Christ's resurrection.
And of course, Israel's involved.
Yes, in the thick of it, because that's what they do. That's what they do. Back at the farm, at Reverend Turner's farm, David tries to get Kathy to receive Jesus Christ, and they have this whole conversation about people who've been who have rejected the gospel prior to the rapture, not being able to accept Christ now. It's too late for them. Which I guess I just go, if this is the case, how had she not heard this from her now raptured husband?
Well, and if that's the case, then why did Patty even have to consider it?
Right, because she heard it from her friend. She heard it from her grandmother's pastor. She heard it from Jim's pastor. So yeah, I don't it kind of makes the whole storyline of the last movie kind of pointless because accepting Christ was too late.
You only get one shot.
Once you've heard it, if you don't, Anyway, we then learn that Brother Christopher is killing preachers of the gospel in Jerusalem. And I guess this indicates that the devil has entered him. So, whatever. David is caught when him and Kathy attempt to use their same counterfeit mark in the same grocery store. They flee in a Unite truck, only for David to crash into a building. He's taken in. Kathy escapes. Then she has another lengthy discussion with Reverend Turner about the tribulation and the seasons of famine and death. That's when we get like all the LSD trip creatures and shit, like all the dialogue about those. I
love how the goal always, and we see this even with like the COVID people and the people, all this talk about lizard people and just all this, like there is something really ingrained in contemporary Christianity that leads them to believe that everything is going to be supernatural and alien-like and everything is demonic and spirit influenced, and like that's not real. That's not happening. You're actually the ones being completely utilized as dangers. So and terrifying.
Jerry reveals to David while he's in custody, I guess, that the whole bums group is being a secret agent, and he tries to convince David to become an undercover agent. Cut to a big chase scene that recreates almost the exact chase scene that we had with Patty in the first film, only this time David escapes, I guess because he's a Christian, so he gets to escape the scene. We get Brother Christopher giving this really big speech. It's really elaborate. He's sitting on this giant 666 golden altar thing.
Very TBN.
It looks like something like Jan Crouch would sit on.
Totally.
Complete with like, are those trumpets or elephant horns behind him?
Those tusks, they're so you.
Yeah, it's like, it's totally got the LSD trip stuff going on with it. It's just weird, and I don't understand. Like, what gets me about this stuff is like these so-called Christians who clearly built this set, like they're the ones who envisioned this. He tells the God of Wrath to do his worst, and he says they will prevail. The stream that was water is now turning into blood. We see that happen also. They're really, really ramping up the budget with this film. David,
this is weird.
It's really weird.
This whole scene is weird.
Everything ends really weird. So David walks in and he sees Leslie in a wheelchair. I guess she was paralyzed by the gunshot.
Well, and walks into a house he's never been in.
Never
before.
been in. So I don't know how he knew where to. Yeah, I don't know how he knew where to find her. I guess he's just being led in the spirit to do all of these things. But yeah, he walks into this home and he finds Leslie in the wheelchair. I don't know where the couple is that nursed her back to health, the old couple. They're gone. Anyway, he apologizes for accidentally leaving her for dead, and they embrace and kiss, so we get a nice little romance thrown into the film. Anyway, so we get Sandy from the last film, who was the traitorous sister of Wenda. She like emerges with General Goon, and she arrests David. Meanwhile, Leslie's in hiding. I don't know. Diane and Jerry arrest Kathy and Billy, who were in hiding. It's just a lot of arrests getting taken.
And there's a whole chase with Billy. Remember, they're like chasing Billy.
Yes. And so, and then there's like this loud electric noise that sounds, and Diane opens the door.
Oh, this is great.
A long, like, beetle, a roach arm, like, just emerges from the door and grabs her. Kathy runs out into a tunnel and sees this long arm approaching her as well. We get a shot of this big nuclear explosion and the horses stampede. More horses. We love our horses.
The horses are coming.
The horses are coming. Then we get this image of Reverend Turner, I think, slain on the ground. He's like covered in blood. I think that's him. We don't know where Kathy's fate is left. Then we see David and Leslie are in prison. Unite threatens to execute Billy if David doesn't tell them where Kathy is. Billy doesn't know where she is. I don't even know that David knows where she is. Well, no, because
Billy and her got separated.
Yeah, but I don't know if David knows where she is. But anyway, he's using it as some kind of trump card. Leslie tells Billy that she's going to heaven, and she preaches the gospel to Billy for a really long time. It's like a really long scene in this prison. So she asks if he wants to join her in heaven, and he accepts Jesus. So we get a nice little, the baby accepts Christ.
And Diane is actually dead.
Yes, Diane's gone at this point.
Diane is dead.
So
the beetle got her.
And we don't know what happens with Jerry. Like, we don't get any more scenes with him in this film, right?
Right.
Anyway, Leslie's let out for execution. They give David an ultimatum again. He says Billy is free. So he feels like the ultimatum is kind of pointless. So he lets Billy get executed.
Yep.
So he doesn't have to give up Kathy's location. And Billy is brought out to the guillotine, and they tell David he's next. So we get children now being murdered.
It's interesting, time-wise, to see how that would have been. Well, it was clearly always acceptable. I was thinking about all the kids that have died of COVID and all the posts we saw on social media from parents that were happy their children died.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it's always been this.
Yeah.
And when I say happy, their children were now in the arms of Jesus and out of this terrible world. And so, I guess this has always been just acceptable to them.
Yeah. Children being offered up or just seen as, it's okay. They're going to go to heaven anyway. So.
And it makes the children heroes to them.
Yet, again, we can't abort them.
Right. Right. Right.
The last film is called The Prodigal Planet. This one is
This is bad.
Boring. Oh my God. It comes out in 1983. There are a couple of things in the beginning that are kind of fun. We get the quote, "The planet Earth is dying. The disease is sin." We also get a song in this one. We do get a song. Eternity by Ted Friesen. Do you know him?
No, nothing about him.
There's no chance in eternity to change your destiny.
So, okay, just some thoughts here about the lack of creativity when it came to the music for these films, because I feel like by Image of the Beast and The Prodigal Planet, wouldn't these films have been enhanced by getting a contemporary Christian artist to collaborate with them?
Would they have touched it with a 10-foot pole?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like there certainly could have been some better songs generated by some CCM artists, and it would have attracted people to the films maybe a little bit more.
Yeah.
I don't know, but just the fact that they used this out-of-date music.
It's like Southern gospel.
Yeah, almost. It's weird. I just don't know what their thought process was. Like, by 1983, do you really think people that are going to see Flashdance?
I think at this point they knew who the market was.
Christian drive-ins, churches.
Yep.
Us four and no more. All right.
So we're getting the nuclear war has devastated the earth. In this film, we get we really do get zombies walking around, the people that have been exposed to the radiation as a result of the nuclear stuff. David evades execution. This woman named Connie saves him. She happens to be a double agent for Bums, the Believers Underground. So she's in it, but she's trying to infiltrate it.
Yes.
Which, I mean, I feel like he could have just said to Jerry, I'll join and be a double agent, and done the same thing Connie's doing. But anyway, he teams up with her in this film to do that very thing. So it's just a lot of word salad computer talk throughout this whole film. Clearly nobody's really tech literate. They're just saying shit about communications networks and infiltrating things. We get Reverend Turner in this one. Again, he's apparently alive after all. Lightning has struck his barn, so he's really underground now. He doesn't have the farm and all of that. We get a lot of dialogue in this one about the bowl judgments, which I guess are different than the seal judgments.
Oh my God, the bowls, the seals, the horses.
I'm so lost at this point. We meet two new women who are not believers, Linda and Jody. Jody is the daughter. Linda's the mom. And Linda is, neither of them are believers. They haven't taken the mark. Linda is a scientist. She is was a part of the research team that ultimately brought about the nuclear war. So she's got some guilt around that. It creates this whole plot about maybe they can be saved since they haven't taken the mark. And we see skeletons of dead people on the sidewalks.
That's right.
And we see these strange people walking around in robes. I guess they end up calling them the Doomsday People.
Yes.
And these are the ones that have been exposed to the radiation. One of them, his name is Jimmy. He asks for help. Jimmy has leukemia.
Oh, and Jody was just terrible to him.
Jimmy kind of immediately becomes just all about David and wants to hear about Jesus and stuff. So David teaches Jimmy about the original sin and Jesus's blood. Jody hates it. She doesn't like all of the Jesus talk. Jimmy becomes such the male chauvinist.
Oh my God.
He says, you know what you need? You need a good spanking. And he says, you can cover your face with makeup, but you can't hide what's inside your heart. Just everything about these films, when you stack it all up, there's just so much misogyny in them.
They hate women.
But between Patty, sellout Sandy, lascivious sellout Diane.
Yeah.
Anyway, we get a lot of talk about the tribulation as the judgment of unrepentant Israel on the whole world. So that feels, I don't know.
That's a quote.
Yeah, a little anti-Semitic. It becomes one of those, the later Christian, science-y films where they try to, spoof the Matrix and stuff, but
yes.
It just never really lands.
I totally glazed during this movie.
Yeah, it's awful. But Unite catches up with Connie, but it's revealed that Connie's actually, a double agent. Anyway, she's not really a believer, and she's been hiding the mark on her hand.
Yeah, she has a second skin.
Yeah, she's a hand mask.
Yes.
Is what I called it.
Like the church people did in the early 2000s, covering up their tattoos in church.
Apparently she has radiation burns too, and so I don't really know why that's important. Maybe the believers don't get radiation marks.
Oh.
Because they were saved.
Oh, got it. I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
David, Linda, and Jody finally find the hideout where I guess the bums people are, and they sing the song "Onward, Christian Soldiers."
Oh my God, that's right. I totally forgot.
And they discover that song is the code to destroy the computer system. So Jody asks God for forgiveness and accepts Christ. It ends with Jerry wounded and sobbing hysterically.
Because he can't die.
And he rips his Unite armband off. Appears to, I guess, be in disgust that he's devoted his life to this thing and gotten his mark, that it didn't save him or help him or whatever. But anyway, there's a final explosion that kills him.
But does it?
Well, it must have, because it was the last film. I guess they were working on a fifth one. That never happened. Thank God. But we get the Eternity song at the end. So
that's the four movies.
Do you have any thoughts about just those four before we get into the two Left Behind films?
Well, I think they really speak to the interests of church people and the ways that church people believe all this is going down and want to program people again to buy into it and believe it as a real thing. But again, it's ineffective. I mean, I think that if you're bought in, you're just bought in.
Right.
But for people like me that grew up being terrified by it at a certain point, because I had other intellectual interests and, other things happening for me. It didn't hold.
Yeah.
And you can't hold people forever with fear because they're either going to fall apart and stay broken within your system or they're going to leave. And so I don't really know what the end game is, but it did set a template for this being a money-making scheme, for lack of a better thing. Like, they knew they could repackage this for another generation.
Yep.
And Mr. Left Behind really did that in an incredible way, because not only did it started as books.
Yeah. When did the first book come out? Looks like 1995.
Okay.
About 10 years after this film.
Which is about right, because that's another generation.
And
later.
he's since gone on, or they've since gone on. It's Tim LaHaye.
Who's a horrible, horrible, horrible person.
And Jerry B. Jenkins. And they've written so many books now. So the film comes out 5 years after the first book. Left Behind, the movie, directed by Vic Sarin. Is that how you say his last name? Sarin?
I believe so.
Cloud 10 Pictures produced this film. And I guess owns the rights to the Left Behind series. Franchise. The budget for the film is $4 million.
Definitely a step up.
A step up.
You'd think.
Which really ultimately means it just kind of looks like a TV movie from that time period. It kind of reminds me of like an episode of like Walker, Texas Ranger, like Andromeda. It kind of has that kind of look of those TV shows, or even like the syndicated ones that were on at that time, like Xena, Princess Warrior.
Yes,
It kind of has that kind of look to it. We get more like Middle East Israel shit, like with the intro. The the effects are just so bad. Of course, Kirk Cameron's in this movie. He's terrible.
Terrible.
He plays a character named Buck Williams, which sounds like a porn star. He plays a journalist who works for GNN.
So original.
Bet you can guess what news station that's ripping off. We also get the character Ray Steele, played by Brad Johnson, who actually just died of COVID earlier this year. I will say this film is better shot than any of the Thief in the Night films. The cinematography isn't bad. It really just is the visual effects. The acting, though, is totally on par with the Thief in the Night films.
Which also leads us to also say the writing is bad.
Yes.
It's a bad story.
The writing is just terrible. So in this film, we get clothes left behind.
Yeah. Okay. So let's discuss. In this film, we get some dumb shit. They're going to be on an airplane.
So they're on an airplane. Rayford Steele is a pilot. That name also sounds kind of porny. Rayford Steele, doesn't it?
It
sounds
does.
like one of those
it
cult
does.
men. Anyway,
that's what they watch.
Anyway,
don't act like you don't know.
He's a pilot on this plane, and the whole film centers around the rapture happening on this plane.
Yeah.
So these people are like cut off from the internet. They don't know what's happened. All they know is all these people are gone on this flight. And the clothes are like sitting upright.
It's just dumb. It's just dumb. Why do we need the clothes? And why are they sitting upright? Like
they're perfectly starched.
Yes.
It's just bizarre. And of course, all the children on the plane are raptured. So like,
yes, this is really emphasized.
Yes,
in this
So
one.
of course, like all of the unsaved people are really freaking out because their children are missing and they really don't know why. I wrote the rapture as QAnon.
Totally.
Because that's what this film totally felt like. Like we get all of these like conspiracies around it, and like the Israel stuff, the weird Jewish appropriation stuff, or Jewish blame stuff. Like it's just very, very like QAnon.
Well, and I have to, okay, not to go so far off subject, but I really do think the rapture is QAnon, and it is an important thing to say, because if you're crazy enough to believe this could happen,
right,
then yeah, you totally believe all of that foolishness in QAnon. It is not a leap for you to go there.
We see like of course, because people are being raptured up while they're like driving on the highway and stuff. So we see like all of these accidents and like pileups and stuff. And I thought God wasn't the author of confusion.
Well, isn't the rapture though? He's removing his presence from the earth ultimately. So
And that means the Christians that he raptures up, like whatever they were happening to be doing at the time gets to like cause chaos as well.
Because also can send people to hell because the cars that they're hitting and killing people, then bye.
And I can't with the depiction of like the violence and the chaos as a result of all of the Christians being gone. Like aside from the accidents, like the people that are like looting and just this idea that like Christians have been on this earth or are on this earth as some kind of moral compass or something. I'm just going to go back to January 6th and let that sit right there. We get this quote, "Peace is imperative. This is the time when we must forget our difference and be there for one another."
So again, unification as bad.
Yeah,
and
like that's said,
bad.
and it's said in an eerie way and a foreshadowing way that means like anyone talking that crap after the rapture is bad and awful. Dangerous. I will say what I did appreciate about this film, even more so than the remake that came after, I feel like this one did the best job of communicating the emotional fallout of what happens when someone you love is gone.
Agreed.
It just felt way more genuine to me, like even more so than Patty losing her husband and her grandmother. I don't know, like hers, it felt more like horror.
And shock. Patty was in shock.
Yeah. And with this one, you're getting like a lot of grief and just sadness around the loved ones, not like I've been left behind. So, okay, sure. It is a little odd to me that it takes so long for the people left behind to figure out that it was the rapture. Like, there, like in this film and in the next one, like there's a lot of, I guess there's this assumption that only Christians know about the rapture and would think of it as a reason for why this was happening if it were to happen. If that makes sense.
Well, yes, but I think that it also speaks to what the difference in culture in 25 years between Thief in the Night and this, because I think in the Jesus movement, or with the Jesus movement being as forefront as it was, I think these things were assumed to be a bit more common knowledge.
Yeah.
And I think that by the time you're hitting like 2000, Christians are assuming that the world knows nothing about them.
Since they aren't bothering to do any outreach anyway.
Right. And so I think that, yes, in their minds, like, yes, it would take the world quite a while to figure this out since they're so uninterested in what we're doing.
Yeah. We also get in this film another pastor who's been left behind.
Why he had to be black?
He's black. I feel like he's DL.
That was Ray that said that, not me, y'all.
Tim made me make a note that
what did I do?
TD Jakes is in this film. He is a pastor whose teachings they put on the television post-rapture to explain what's happened. And I did not know prior to turning on this film that he was in it.
I didn't either.
And so he just appears and is talking. And I just...
Ray said, oh, God
damn it. And just as soon as because just, of course, TD Jakes is in this film, so I had to make note of that. In this film, we get a new Antichrist with a new name, Nikolai Carpathia, I think is how you say it. He's like the more modern, like Gen X-y Antichrist. He's not Brother Christopher. It's not cult leader. It's kind of like Justin Trudeau. He's the hip one. He's Obama, but like, yeah, he's got an accent. Do we know what he's supposed to like?
I don't.
Something European. God, this movie was really, really, really boring.
Both of these Left Behind movies were almost more than I could take. And I could barely do Prodigal Planet, the last of the Thief in the Night series, but these two were just...
Well, by the time we get to this film, like it's a completely different director, completely different production studio, completely different generation. It really like just hits me that Christians just are really bad at having an imagination and using their imagination to communicate things to people who know nothing of what they're talking about. Like, you would think the rapture, the tribulation, all the stuff that's in Revelation, yeah, it's convoluted. It's hard to kind of flesh out and make something that's a cohesive narrative. But on its face, it is somewhat like something that could be interesting. Like, the theory around it, like just the idea of like the end of the world is happening. We do post-apocalyptic all the time in Hollywood and in books. So the fact that they just cannot, for their lives make a decent rapture film.
Well, again, though, we also have to say, and this is why I feel like for me, Thief in the Night and those films were a little more tolerable.
Yeah.
Was also because by 2000, they had pretty much squeezed out all the creative people from that world.
Yeah.
And so you're 15 years past the prime of CCM. People have begun exiting. The megachurch is pretty much the norm.
Yeah.
Becoming the norm by this time. And so yet you've got no innovative, creative people that have not been completely reshaped to fit the megachurch mold.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're not getting anybody coming in with fresh ideas.
No. I will say that Antichrist in this film is a little bit more interesting than Brother Christopher. He's like using mind control and we actually watch it happen.
We do. Yes.
And I know there's like a bunch of sequels to this, but we just could not. We could just could not
No.
do them. And I know they
No.
fleshed that out further in the other films. I'm sure
No.
they're way worse. But it's somewhat interesting to see how he might be able to manipulate and become a world leader. But yeah, this film is really, really dry. And the only other thing worth talking about with this one is that, as Tim wanted in the later Thief in the Night films, we actually do get a soundtrack.
It's so bad.
With a bunch of CCM artists of, unfortunately, the 2000s. So a lot of people I didn't necessarily care to get the songs from.
Well, and let's name them because I'm disappointed because two people...
I'm disappointed in all of these people for participating.
Well, and even the late Rick Elias, who I know in the later part of his life had a very different expression of his faith. And I think Rick Elias is somebody people should definitely look up and dig into. And he is unfortunately in this soundtrack. But we also have,
Go ahead.
Rebecca St. James, Kathy Tricoli in, unfortunately, what became the really uncool years for her. Fred Hammond, your hero.
Fred.
Third Day, Avalon. Somebody I really love, Randy Stonehill, Michael W. Smith, Wayne Kirkpatrick, who is no longer a believer. There's a great New York Times feature about this from a few weeks back that everyone should look at. Bob Carlyle, Joy Williams, Brian Duncan, and Helen Baylor. Big soundtrack, awful music, disappointing alliances.
Yeah.
There. All right.
And then we get the remake. So we did suffer through the remake. We didn't do any of the Kirk Cameron sequels, but we did do the 2014 Left Behind remake, directed by another Vic. This one is Vic Armstrong. There's so much. There's nothing good to talk about.
No, this is so
film,
bad.
Other than Nicolas Cage. Terrible music. Terrible camera angles. This one still looks like a TV movie, but again, it's 2014, so it's like high definition. It looks like one of the Christmas movies that are on like Lifetime or Hallmark, but without any of the Christmas. So instead of calling him Buck Williams, they call him Cameron Williams in this film. I think they realized that name sounded really porn star-ish. He's played by Chad Michael Murray. Ray Steele is played by Nicolas Cage, the pilot. We get an added romance in this film between Ray's daughter, who's named Chloe, and the Cameron character. So that makes him a little bit more interesting. I mean, in the Kirk Cameron film, his character was just kind of there to me. In the original film, we didn't talk about the fact that Ray and his wife were divorced.
They were.
And he was having an affair with one of the flight attendants.
He was.
In this film, him and his wife are still together, but they're having problems. And the wife in both films is a Christian.
Yes. And the family thinks she's kind of crazy.
Yeah, in this film, the family thinks she's crazy. He's still having the affair. In this one, they make her like really slutty. Like they code her as really slutty. She's got like the very obviously hair that they think is slutty, the very obviously like makeup and scarf. It's just so like unimaginative and again sexist.
Yeah.
But in this film, they cut out all the Israel stuff. Like there's none of that in this film.
Yeah.
The news network is GWN, not GNN. I guess they realized they didn't need to be quite so
obvious.
Obvious. Yeah. Chloe is blaming God in this film.
It harkens back to Patty and Thief in the Night.
Yes. As the reason that the family's falling apart. Her father, it's his birthday. Right? Is that what it is? So she's come to town to be there, but he is actually he's taken this flight so that he can go to London and go to a concert.
That's right.
Do you remember what concert it was?
I don't.
It was a rock band.
Did they say it?
I want to say it was like Rolling Stones or something.
I
maybe.
have no memory of this.
I probably got that wrong. But yeah, he's gonna take the flight attendant, Hattie, the slutty flight attendant, to the concert with him. But they all believe that the mom is being brainwashed by their pastor. I wrote, is it in the Bible that the clothes and the jewelry worn would be left behind? And this made me wonder, like, what about pacemakers or lap bands?
That's right, because this all happened again in this movie.
Yeah, we see the clothes all fall and the jewelry
in the last one.
Yeah, and so it just made me wonder about everything. What about like contact lenses? What about like
implants?
Prosthetics?
Did you say implants?
Prosthetics. I didn't say implants. IUDs.
Right.
Are they just going to be just like laying there? Undigested food.
It's not of God. It's not Christian.
Stool that hasn't, come out yet.
Come on.
I'm serious. Like, what? It just doesn't make sense that it's only the clothes. Anyway.
Too far.
We get cars like crashing into the mall
Yeah.
when they're left behind. Of course, her little brother, Chloe's little brother, is raptured up. So she's actually hugging him at the time, and they do this cool special effect where like the clothes, she just is like hugging the clothes.
They just fall through her arms.
Like boom.
Yeah. I felt like the rapture moment itself in this film was much more dramatic than in any of the other films.
Yeah, because they actually like show it. It doesn't just
as
like
it's happening.
Yeah,
it's not like they drifted to sleep and their kids' clothes were sitting upright in the seat next to them. Yeah,
we also get a lot of like air buses and plane crashes and stuff, not just in the mall, but they're like happening like 45 minutes later, because of course Chloe can't get in her car because her car gets like crashed into, so she's like walking home and there's more crashes happening on her way home. I don't understand why all these things aren't simultaneous. And then there's like this whole moment, it becomes a disaster film in a way that none of the other films before were, and so it ultimately becomes like they're on this plane. Oh, there's another plane that's in the sky that for some reason hasn't fallen out of the sky yet. I guess it's on autopilot, but the pilot of the plane has been raptured, and so they like try to avoid the plane, and at some point like part of their plane is on fire, and then they extinguish that, but then they're like worried that they don't have enough fuel to land the plane. There's just not a lot of proselytizing. We don't get any stuff about the tribulation in this film. We do get though Jordan Sparks.
Oh my God, we do.
So we get a lot of dumb, like everyone who's left behind is an idiot. And Jordan Sparks' character is no exception. She plays the wife of a athlete. Is he a basketball player? I think he's a basketball player. She's there with her daughter, who's of course raptured. So she's like freaked out because her daughter's missing. And she decides that the reason her daughter is missing is not because of the rapture. It's because she's actually fleeing her husband, ball player man, with her daughter. She thinks that the husband, ball player, is after her and the daughter. So she thinks that the husband has somehow managed to, on a plane that's flying over the Atlantic Ocean, that it is somehow someone has managed to kidnap her daughter. And she starts screaming, "How much is he paying you?"
With the gun.
And she pulls out a gun from her purse. And I'm like, first off, how did she get a gun on a commercial airplane?
And the way she was holding it was just
so bad. She's never held a gun in her life. And I don't understand. Then she decides she's going to kill herself with the gun. And instead, like, everybody in every film ever who's threatened to kill themselves ever points the gun at their head. Why did she point it at her chest?
Yeah, this was just bad.
So she's pointing the gun at her chest. Anyway, then we get Pastor Bruce. Is the pastor in this one a brother as well?
I believe so.
Yeah, they uncover that he's the reason Irene is raptured, but he's left behind. Which totally contradicts like the Thief in the Night films, because the pastors that don't believe it also lead their flock astray.
Probably had some unrepented sin.
Yeah.
That he,
Me and DL.
Anybody can say that was Ray again, y'all.
It's the only thing that makes it make sense.
Go ahead.
Chloe ends up being the savior of the plane. Like the Nicolas Cage pilot character calls the daughter Chloe, and she like first off magically knows how to drive a motorcycle, which we never see her do, but then she like instinctively knows where the plane is going to land, and she finds this runway that hasn't been used or isn't being used, and she clears it and makes way for the plane to land there. And she also like knows how to like find gas to create a fire so that they can see the runway because there's no lights. It's just so bad. The CGI of the plane landing crashing is terrible. And then they like say like, well, I'm glad that's over or something, and they say like, no, this is just the beginning. So to me, I feel like the film does a terrible job of at least making the rapture feel terrifying.
Absolutely. You barely even know there's some action you need to have taken to avoid being one of the people left behind. And you aren't really sure if being left behind is a bad or good thing.
Right. Like they don't make it something so terrifying that you'd want to avoid it.
Yeah. Not at all.
And it's really just not a convincing witnessing tool, I don't think, to even the people that are already Christians. Like, all of these films do a terrible job of proselytizing or evangelizing, but this one in particular just feels so far removed from even like the scaring me to Christ stuff.
Not scaring. The Thief in the Night films were so much more effective.
Yeah, because it doesn't even like love or warm feelings me to Christ.
No, it does nothing.
Intellectually, well, none of these films intellectually persuade me to Christ either. But in the soundtrack, we get Jordan Sparks covering the Larry Norman song from A Thief in the Night.
Right. Interesting way to tie it all together. I hope this is the last Rapture film we ever get. It probably won't be. Well, it's the last one I'm ever watching.
It's the last one I'm definitely ever watching. Any final thoughts on the way that Christians use media to try to talk about the rapture, or maybe use the rapture as a scare tactic I mean, they clearly don't do any kind of job of convincing people outside of their universe to believe what they want them to believe.
Well, I'm curious as to whether or not they even think about the rapture anymore. I mean, everything now seems like it's very focused on politics and Trump and all of their odd beliefs. And so I mean, my experience, I don't hear a lot of people talking about the return of Christ in this way. So I don't even know if this is part of the real value system anymore. I could be very wrong.
Well, I think it is of the conspiracy theory Christians. I think it is of the dyed in the wool ones. I think of the ones that are in power, though, maybe they never really believed in it.
Right.
But they know they can use it.
Just, yes.
Yeah.
When it's convenient. Yeah. And so I guess for me, it's a horrible, I mean, I guess it was effective in the sense that it kept me connected for as long as I was connected, because out of fear. Mm-hmm. But that fear did break off. There was a period.
It stopped working.
It stopped working because I actually like allowed my brain to believe, read, think differently.
I think the Christians that think this like traditional conservative way of viewing indoctrination, I guess, they don't realize, the ones that still believe in this as a tactic of using the rapture to keep people, they don't realize that what actually does, for the most part, keep Christians in the church is the community aspect of it.
Yes.
It's feeling that if I leave this, I lose safety net, status, family, my circle.
Mm-hmm. For many people, yes. And for many people, platform, economics.
Yeah. And that's way more important, I think, to all of these folks than what's happening on the other side of life. Because I don't think most humans can even conceptualize eternity in that kind of way, to even be thinking beyond what's currently happening, which is why none of them care about climate change.
Right.
You know, they care about the world as it currently is.
Yes.
And what effect it might be having on their children. But even that's about control.
Well, and as evidenced by the church's behavior during COVID, it really is about this moment. Because
I need to get my hair cut.
And we're going to meet. We're still going to have church. Right. You can't stop us from having church. And we're going to do it the way we've always done it. Unmasked, singing out loud, on top of each other, blah, blah, blah. And so, I feel like the rapture is proven to be just more rhetoric.
Yeah.
And not something they actually believe is real. I mean, and I would really challenge people who do believe it as real to really think about, as my friend said to me that day, wait a minute. You actually believe that at some moment a trumpet is going to blow out into the air and people are going to fly into another dimension? Yeah, I don't know how you honestly hold on to that or believe that is real when we have not had any experiences of the supernatural really that have done anything similar to that. We've never seen it. And so people have been talking about this for thousands and thousands of years, and you still believe in your generation.
All they can point to is people getting out of wheelchairs and walking, or coming back with praise reports that their cancer is gone from the hospital. But to actually see like creatures or, you know, whatever this stuff is that you know, would be some sign of that level of supernatural occurrences.
We can't even prove the Loch Ness monster. So why would I, you know, why the hell would I?
Well, yeah.
And so I just really have a lot of concern as we've seen the effects. I mean, I've said it multiple times through this podcast, like the relationship between believing this and the COVID deniers, you know, QAnon, it's all connected to this. And so I can't help but see it as a dangerous belief system.
Yeah. I don't get what function it serves at all. If Christianity were to be about love and on that level just being like Christ, what use does it serve?
I mean, if I subscribe to anything, it's when years ago when I interviewed Carlton Pearson, and he said that he believed that the rapture was a shift in consciousness, not in any, you know, physical departure. And, you know, I wish that could be true. I wish that I did believe that people would suddenly, in the twinkling of an eye, realize that half of the things they believe are bullshit. And, you know, I wish that could be true too. But I'm much more capable of saying, I can say that. I can see the rapture as an individualized moment in which our consciousness changes, but not in a collective sense in any way.
Yeah. I'm down for that.
I mean, that was how it happened for me. My friend laughed and I was free from the rapture.
So yeah, I guess that leads us to what would any kind of notion of the rapture look like from an outlaw perspective. Yeah.
For me, we just said it.
Yeah, I think that's totally it. I think it's about figuring out how we reclaim all of the language that's been weaponized in all of these films.
Yes.
The unite stuff, the coming together as a community, being a citizen of the world.
Humanism.
Yeah. And not letting any of those things be insults or bad things or sinful things or things that keep people from salvation, from being enraptured.
Yes.
I want to be caught up in the rapture of love, like Anita Baker, actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, all right. Well, there we go. Where can people find you, Tim?
Twitter, Tim Dillinger. Instagram, same thing. God's Music Is My Life.substack.com. Please subscribe.
All right. And you can find me, Ray Currington, at Ray Currington on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And like I said, you can listen to my new single, Make It With Me, on Bandcamp, raycurrington.bandcamp.com.
That's right.
All right. Thank you so much.
Till next time.